I'm Brian Foster, and this is the Grindhouse Institute. On each episode of this podcast, Jeremy Floyd and I program a double or triple feature movie night. Each of the movies share common themes, and we discuss them here. We're happy you could join us for today's episode we call Rock, Opera, Horror Picture Show. In the mid-1960s, music groups were beginning to toy with the idea of creating what would eventually be called the rock opera. These albums would include a collection of songs all related to a central plot and narrative. Albums by British psychedelic band Nirvana, The Who's Tommy, and Pretty Things' SF Sorrow were considered the first of their kind, but it wasn't until 1970, with Andrew Lloyd Webber's Jesus Christ Superstar, that the rock opera would be realized on the silver screen. Today we'll be taking a look at a trio of rock operas with a horror spin. An evil genius music producer is on the verge of opening the Paradise, the greatest rock palace the world has ever known, but his nefarious past is coming back to haunt him. Will he be able to overcome the mysterious phantom's meddling, or will he succumb to it? Paul Williams, Jessica Harper, and William Finley sing, dance, and star in Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise from 1974. Newly engaged Brad and Janet are on a romantic excursion that is cut short when their car breaks down during a heavy rainstorm. With nowhere else to turn but that creepy castle they passed a few miles back, the two enter a time warp and are transported to a twilight zone made up of B-movie tropes, two creepy servants, and one sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. Barry Bostwick, Susan Sarandon, and Tim Curry sing, dance, and shiver with anticipation in Jim Sharman's The Rocky Horror Picture Show from 1975. In the not-too-distant future, the Earth is overwhelmed by a pandemic of organ failures. Seeing this as the next big cash grab, GeneCo rises as the top provider of internal organs at a very high price. Lease a new liver and can't keep up with your payments? GeneCo will send the Repo man to collect. Anthony Head, Alexa Vega, and Paul Sorvino sprech Gesang and star in Darren Lynn Bousman's Repo, the Genetic Opera from 2008. Thank you for listening to the Grindhouse Institute. Please enjoy.
His band, the Juicy Fruits, single-handedly gave birth to the nostalgia wave in the 70s. Now he is looking for the new sound of the Spheres to inaugurate his own Xanadu, the ultimate rock palace.
We've been sadly neglecting our YouTube channel for quite a while. But for those of you who were following us there, we are finally kind of getting back in gear on that one. And we're going to be catching up with all the episodes we haven't put up yet, putting up a bunch of stuff, a bunch of little trailers and shorts and things like that, as well as some of the other stuff we were doing previously. Putting in public domain movies and all that kind of fun stuff too. So if you're not following us on YouTube, definitely go check us out there. The other thing is, the way YouTube works, we can't do quite as many clips as we can do here on the old RSS feed. So if it's the other way around and you're watching us on YouTube, you should follow the uncut episodes on audio only.
Science fiction, double feature.
All right, welcome back to the Grindhouse Institute. I'm Brian Foster, and with me as always is Jeremy Floyd. Hello, and how are you?
Brian, we're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of rock and of opera.
Oh, man, that was sizzling. We're talking rock operas today, whether you like them or not. They are here to stay.
It's not up to you.
Yeah, it's really not up to you. They are here, and people are enjoying them. And we're talking about three cult favorites today with Phantom of the Paradise, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Repo, the Genetic Opera.
Repo.
Was this the first time for all these for you, Jeremy? I believe you said it was, right?
All three, yeah. Exactly. And frankly, I had never even heard of Phantom of the Paradise before Jesse brought it up a couple episodes back. So shout out to Jesse Hucken for turning me at least onto that one. It sounds like you were already at least aware of it.
I knew what it was, yeah. And I knew I had seen Paul Williams, pimp-like stature and face in this movie as much as what we were in Stone Cold Dead as well.
Yeah. So in Stone Cold Dead, that was shot, I mean, presumably, 4 or 5 years later. And part of the plot of Phantom of the Paradise was Paul Williams never aging.
Yeah.
And boy, those 5 years, he aged a little bit there. Huh? Poor guy.
Well, I think the magic spell here, or the Faustian spell in Phantom of the
The
Paradise
blood
was already gone.
The blood
right?
pact had already broken.
The contract that was like this big.
It's like a foot thick.
But this was the first time I had seen this one, Phantom of the Paradise. I mean, if you want to just get into him.
Which opens with Rod Serling narrating, which I was like, is that Rod Serling? What the hell?
Crazy.
Swan. He has no other name. His past is a mystery, but his work is already a legend.
It's like, it was really odd because I thought that this one was like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this is like, they were trying to do stuff that Rocky Horror did, blah, blah, blah. No, this came out before Rocky Horror. This set the template, I think, for the rock opera in cinema.
Yeah, I
seems
think
like it.
And did it come out the same year, or did it come out before Tommy?
Ah, okay. So 75 was Tommy. No, it was before that
this
too.
Is before that.
Yeah. So the one that we never heard of, set the stage for things like Tommy and Rocky Horror Picture Show, which are huge at this point, or at least well known, especially with the Who being attached to Tommy and everyone, singing and dancing to Rocky Horror Picture Show every midnight showing on Saturday at the Nuart. But yeah, this one, I don't know. There was something about it. It felt really, really cool. It felt really kind of edgy. Very, very De Palma when he was trying to do, it seemed like at that time, a lot of the whole giallo, like trying to bring over the Italian horror film to U.S. audiences. Yeah, I mean, and it was, because I guess the gialli movement, what started in the sort of mid-'60s or something, and then... Yeah. He Slasher films.
Definitely brought some of that in some of his 70s movies. I mean, like, Sisters maybe.
Did he do Blowout?
Carrie, you mentioned.
Carrie for sure.
On another show. Yeah, he did Blowout. Exactly.
That one had a lot of, shadowy type imagery and things like that. Dress to Kill, that was one that used a lot of reflections and stuff that Argento would use. Clearly he had a focus bringing this stuff over here, but this one was odd, right? Like, because this was an early one by De Palma, and it doesn't feel like any of his other movies. Maybe some visuals, but not anywhere near like some of his other movies.
I guess, I don't know what. It is early, but it's. I mean, he had done several movies before this. It was before Carrie,
right?
Before the Furies, before Dress to Kill.
Yeah.
But he had done Sisters, I guess, before this. And half a dozen other movies that I'm not familiar with.
Never seen Sisters.
But, it definitely had that sort of giallo style to it, which I guess also kind of like ties into the last Paul Williams movie we watched, Stone Cold Dead.
Yeah.
And the sort of funky giallo-esque style there, too. But what was interesting was that, like, I think when you had originally talked about doing this, we were talking about maybe doing Tommy.
Yeah.
But the other two are kind of in this, sort of horror rock opera vein. Yeah. And this one not only sort of predates Tommy, but also happened to be kind of in that horror rock opera vein as well. So I think they all kind of work together really well.
I agree. I would say that, Repo probably stole a bunch of this stuff, or was inspired by it.
Yeah.
And, I would say that even Rocky Horror was inspired by this film. There's a lot that's like either reused or highlighted a little bit that feels like this movie, or at least that this set the template for. Mostly around, beef.
I was about to say the beef character.
Beef comes up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you've got Rocky Horror in Rocky Horror, and it's like it's kind of the same character.
And he was like assembled out of different parts,
Frankenstein,
like
if you will, or some sort of androidish.
But
some cyborg.
God, when he's getting electrocuted on stage and those like jump cuts and whatever, it was so fucking hilarious. And that actor too, he's great. Garrett Graham.
Yeah.
I know him best from Used Cars, but God, what the hell else was he in? He was in something else that.
But Adam Ferberg will bring up that he was in Star Trek quite a few times.
Okay. Yep. He was also Jay Sherman's dad in The Critic.
The voice? His voice, you mean? Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, son, hold very still.
Ow! Did you get the bug?
What bug?
Yeah, he's had his he's been in quite a few things. Terror Vision, National Lampoon's Class Reunion, which I'm sure we've all seen.
Yeah. It's just up there with Christmas Vacation, right?
Right, yeah. It's just a classic.
Yeah.
Timeless.
And I don't know if you are much of a Kiss fan, but there was a set piece in the middle of this movie where, this band that kept kind of showing up, the Juicy Fruits, had one of their
The Coupe de
set
Villes.
pieces as like a band that looked so much like Kiss, but this is like, this came out in 1974 before Kiss kind of blew up. So I don't know what the hell that means. Is it just something in the air?
There was I think Paul Williams had more of a magical hand in Hollywood with music and things. 'Cause,
This is just a documentary, is what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. We're just learning about how he started the rock opera in cinema.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, he wrote the whole thing. He acts in it, and he wrote every single song for it or whatever.
Right.
It's almost like he was this incredibly interesting person, and then shows up in all these different movies. Well, Stone Cold Dead being one of those interesting movies I'm referring to because I haven't seen him in anything else. But I'm sure he's been in other things, and it's just this odd career that we're getting to see.
The Muppet movie, right?
Yeah, and he won an Oscar for that, I believe. Right? He wrote the score for that. That's impressive.
It's wild.
Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
I guess speaking of the Juicy Fruits, did it strike you as odd that when we were first introduced to them, they were kind of a doo-wop band?
Exactly.
They all had Fonzie sort of greaser haircuts, and at one point there's like a sort of talking part of the song where he is making a direct plea to his love interest that he's singing to, and while he's doing it in this very bizarre voice that sounded like Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, and it's it was very strange.
For me to poop on.
It was very for me to poop on.
When a young singer dies, to our shock and surprise, in a plane crash or flashy sports car, he becomes quite well known, and the kindness he's shown has made more than one post-mortem star.
So I didn't realize that this was going to be kind of a Phantom of the Opera retelling, if you will, but also it had
and Faust.
Well, Dorian Gray, like you mentioned, with Paul Williams not aging because of the picture or whatever that's sitting in his office.
Well, it was all the videotapes, right?
Right. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Dorian Gray was the picture. Right.
Yeah.
Same kind of concept there. And
the
then
videotapes of Dorian Gray.
I'd like to see some of that footage.
Yeah.
It was right in the middle of making it. So Swan, I guess he's more or less the devil or a lieutenant of the devil in this. What did you get out of his character as the villain? Not aging, soul to soul.
Yeah, I guess so, because he was, talking to himself in the mirror, and that version of himself, possessed maybe, got him to sign a contract. Oh, don't worry, we don't need to use ink. Just go ahead and use some blood.
Just some blood. No one thinks twice about that either in these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
These Faustian stories.
Yeah, I love how no one did. I mean, not Winslow Leach and not Jessica Harper. Like no one. Like they're just like, yep, that makes sense. Since I already cut my finger anyway, I might as well sign with that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't have a pen. Winslow Leach. What an interesting looking person this was, huh? This William Finley.
Right. Yeah.
Looks like he was in quite a few or some movies after this. Sisters being one of them. De Palma's movie.
Okay. Then that was before this one, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just interesting that I wonder what sort of musical background he actually has, if he is like a song and dance man, because he performs in it pretty well. I mean, like there's some interesting performances by him.
I wasn't familiar with him, so I kind of just figured that, you know, he was like Paul Williams or something, like from musical background.
Out of place is a crying clown who could only frown, and the play went on for hours.
Well, here's a big one. So when kind of digging through rock operas, what's going to kind of make or break it is, you know, not necessarily the you know, gialli color schemes, or, you know, is the insane, extremely grainy, you know, 10 millimeter wide angle lenses and stuff that they had on this, and, you know, some of the funky voice box and whatever he's got. You know,
it's the music, right?
It's going to be the music, and it's like you're going to sort of live or die off that. And like if the music isn't working, then all the rest of it doesn't matter, and vice versa. If the music's working, then, you know, some of the funky style you're going to have a lot more leeway on. And this one, it was wild because, like, for me, it didn't start off being the most exciting music when we were first, you know, starting with early Winslow Leach material, and he sort of, you know, playing it on his harpsichord or whatever that was.
Yeah.
And Winslow Lurch, and you know, I you know, the first Juicy Fruits song was pretty good, but like, it wasn't like blowing me away, wanting to sing along with it type of good. But when the Phantom finally forces Jessica Harper
Phoenix
to you know, be kicked out on, and like, you know, pushed out on stage and just do this crazy song, you know, it was pretty rocking, and you know, I was definitely into it at that point. And, you know, from then on, the music was really, really strong.
Yeah, I feel like there was a ramp up in this one, and then I feel like in Rocky Horror it starts at like its peak, and then it kind of fizzles out near the end.
Yeah, works its way down.
There's just bangers in Rocky Horror. Like it starts out with like 3 amazing songs that everyone knows, and then it just kind of like, you get the Meatloaf later on, but we can get there.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, exactly.
For simple feeling, I thought I knew you, but I didn't know you at all.
Yeah, Jessica Harper, also a Giallo reference there, or
right, or vice versa, right? Because wasn't she in Suspiria after?
Yes,
End of the Paradise,
77 or something.
So was Argento inspired by De Palma?
God damn it! This movie might be the most important movie we ever talked about on this show. We don't even know it. Yeah, 77 was Suspiria. Yeah, it was after. So she wasn't even known as the I don't know, the damsel in distress in that movie, or the hero in that movie. I don't know what she was. She definitely wasn't doing well, but she was being chased down by witches. I think that's what that movie's about.
Witch fodder.
Yeah,
exactly. You tell me what that movie's about. But it's funny, you know, this movie, in terms of being a rock opera horror show, it's kind of like on low simmer of the horror through maybe most of it, but that sort of that final scene when we get to the wedding and all that, like it cranks it up pretty hard.
Full horror. Yeah. I guess the visual of the Phantom or Winslow when he's, you know, got the bird mask on and the metal teeth that were removed in Sing Sing to avoid any sort of bacterial transmission, I guess was.
No, it was like, you know, they're just, you know, doing, you know, Nazi science experiments on them. Like, it's like, you know, human experiments.
It was funny because they described that experiment and then they're like, funded by the Swan Corporation. So Swan had a hand in everything, this producer.
Right.
So I was wondering about that too. You know, you're talking about the first music group, and I'm blanking on the name already.
Juicy Fruits?
The Juicy Fruits, and they kept changing into different groups throughout, right?
Right. Like it was the same 3, you know, main people, and then, you know, like rebranding them.
It was like Swan's, like his cronies, right? And he would just kind of turn them into whatever was popular at the time to get them to make hit records or hit music, right?
I mean, I kind of interpreted that as, you know, as them being, you know, Yeah, under his
Yeah.
2.5 foot thick blood contract, and
They all signed. Yeah.
yeah, they all signed, and so they had to go from greasers to then surf rock with a bomb in the trunk to sort of the goth
Yeah.
sort of I don't know
Metal or
like
early metal.
or early metal, like the early hard rock, like the Kiss / Alice Cooper.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sort of like on stage horror
Biting heads off of bats
yeah,
and
Persona,
and the whole
yeah,
business. Yeah.
yeah.
But it's all very theatrical, and it kind of reminded me of like how bands were around that time, like you said, like Alice Cooper and Ozzy and things. They were like big stage shows. They were like rock operas when they did their shows, and it's like this all translated to film at this time.
You saying that reminds me of or like it called to mind the image of like the Stonehenge from Spinal Tap.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he wrote it on a napkin. He wrote inches instead of feet or whatever. It was this tiny Stonehenge. So stupid.
So good.
Oh my god,
though.
it's hilarious. That's what you get for doing a napkin contract.
I do not, for one, think that the problem was that the band was down. I think that the problem may have been that there was a Stonehenge monument on the stage that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf.
So your take on this movie was good songs at the end. Then you thought that this one kind of ended with a big finale that made it a little more satisfying. Would that be accurate?
I think so. Like when they started to get rolling on the Paradise and all the sort of warm ups to it, the sort of first couple of performances, all that stuff. That was where I was really kind of hooked into it.
Yeah.
I think it started off a little slow for me, just in terms of we're talking about the music here, or
I think both. I mean, that the music is the driver, right? And
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved all the little I don't know, trials and tribulations. The poor Winslow Leach character got
awful.
It
was like the
ground.
Toxic Avenger, man.
Yeah.
He was like getting blown.
No, literally, he got the one eye too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like just getting ground into dirt by Swan and his creepy sidekick and
that guy
else.
was the fucking worst, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There were shots of him full of rooms of women and him just jumping on top of these women as the doors are closing. I was like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It just seems like yesterday I found her in that church choir. I got her a first club job, and I paid off a columnist. He did a beautiful story on her. I taught her who to be nice to, who to fed her the drugs to get her through the road tours. I made her record a hit.
So Winslow was definitely getting run through the gauntlet here, and some of that was pretty engaging, but I think when we were listening to his music at first, I wasn't quite as into it until they started bringing in the bigger orchestras and kind of letting Jessica Harper belt a few of them and. Even the insane singing voice that Beef had, kind of brought something to it as well. I was definitely into that. I don't know what the sort of fruity stereotype character that Garrett Graham was doing was a little much for me.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed all the Beef stuff. Especially him. Trying to get the hell out of there. Oh,
it's haunted.
Him getting scared with the psycho shower scene.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, screw this! I'm out of here." And then he gets muscled back into it, and then he gets jump cut, electrocuted to death, in one of the funniest electrocutions on screen.
And I think that was the second time that the Phantom, or he's now the Phantom, Winslow, that's the second time he tried to sabotage one of the stage performances, one of them being with the first group, right? But he blew them up, or almost blew them up.
Yeah.
That was pretty nasty.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one with like a split screen.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, there were a lot of interesting choices visually in this. The split screen was really cool because you'd follow him, Winslow, like working and getting the bomb behind the scenes, and then you would just barely see him in the other shot, kind of coming behind the stage there. It was pretty neat. They must have done it in real time.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Is like, unlike some other exciting cinematic split screens, rules of attraction with the way it kind of ends, which is insane. Or I mean, even the Jackie Brown split screen, which was done to a cool effect.
Was that at the end of the film?
That was when essentially Samuel L. Jackson goes over to kill Pam Grier, and we are learning in the split screen that she stole Robert Forster's gun.
Yes, he goes in the glove. Yes.
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah. Oh, loved it. And
in Narc they do this fun split screen one where it's essentially like an interrogation, but it's like they're kind of knocking on all the doors around Detroit trying to figure something out, and when we see it all kind of being fast forwarded through it in a split screen. But what all of those examples I just laid out had, which this one didn't, was that those split screens were very cutty. So, left side of the screen, right side of the screen, the cuts were happening at different paces. This one, I mean, may have to go back and check, but it felt like at least the vast majority of it was timed at the exact same time. We were just,
or the intention was to make it look like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If it was single camera, it was pretty masterful, because there were a couple moments where it was like,
I don't think so. They had to have done that simultaneously.
Some of the extras, head turns, and like the,
right.
It was happening at the exact same time. It just, it definitely felt like an A and B cam, right at the same time situation. But anyway, it was done really well. So it was like this, sequence in the middle of it as this oneer.
Right.
But as a split screen, and played on this tension of like, one of the models or whatever who was supposed to sit on the back of this stage car as being pushed across the stage, supposed to look like a beach scene. And she's like, I keep hearing this ticking. And it's like maybe some sort of reference to the opening Touch of Evil or something. But anyway, and then like the creepy, Weinstein-esque, bag man who worked for Paul Williams was like, get back up there, and yelling at her, and so we're getting more and more tense as the bomb is supposed to be counting down. Anyway, it was all the madness and all the extras and all the stuff. I mean, it was played really, really well.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, so as a set piece, it was pretty exciting, and they also managed to do something, fairly fresh feeling, even in light of, some multi-million-dollar things that happened, 20-ish years later with things like Rules of Attraction and whatever. They did it more impressive in 1974 with Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, where my baby sits on that's
How funny was it when the Phantom decides, in the last, like, whatever that is, 20 minutes to just throw in the towel, and he goes to kill himself, and it doesn't work because he's under this curse, and this contract doesn't let him go. And so maybe that's why the Juicy Fruits can live on for 20, 30 years and not age, much like Paul Williams doesn't age. But when he does it, we get a hot orange spurt of 3M stage blood jumping out of his chest there.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Gialli style.
That's clearly just like one of my favorite things to see in these old 70s movies.
Yeah.
Is that all they had? Was that the only blood they had? I mean, because everything comes up orange around that time.
Right. I mean, yeah, I have no idea, actually. I mean, but I feel like there was some consideration for that on a story I heard about Taxi Driver, where it's like, they to avoid the X rating, they had to use some funny, thicker not quite as red or crimson blood.
Is it pretty orange in Taxi Driver too?
I feel like at certain moments, particularly at the end there.
Yeah, when it's red paint everywhere.
Yeah.
When
Blows
he's
up
painting
that
the
guy's
apartment
fingers
with
or
people.
whatever,
Yeah.
Didn't you read your contract closely? See what it says, terms of agreement? Can you read what it says? This contract terminates with Swan. No more suicides, Winslow. You gave up your right to rest in peace when you signed this contract.
Yeah, I guess even though this movie ends great, Phantom of the Paradise, it doesn't end like Taxi Driver does, or at least that strong, but still pretty strong ending.
Yeah. Are you saying that this isn't a 5-star classic that everyone talks about it all the time, like Taxi Driver?
You never heard of it?
I've never heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Hey, before we wrap on Phantom, I guess we have to go through and you give me your musical impressions on this one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I don't feel like it's got the memorable tracks that Rocky Horror has, or that has had since it came out. But I think that there's still some interesting stuff in it. I did like the doo-wop at the beginning. I thought that opening number was awesome. I thought that the choreography of that number was awesome. I thought it really felt like an old television like variety show. You know, I think that they really nailed that feel from the 50s.
Yeah.
And everything else, kind of fizzled out a little bit. Some of William Finley just kind of mouthing his cantata, just speaking his cantata a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
Although I liked the story behind it. If you're familiar with a lot of these stories, selling your soul to the devil, he kind of goes through and describes a lot of that. And I really like that about these kinds of movies, when there's like a title track that kind of gives you the whole kind of construct of the movie or what you're about to see. I think Rocky Horror does that as well, with the Mr. X building a creature, the lips singing at the beginning, and kind of sets you up for what this is going to be. And this one kind of did that too. But this one felt like more of a movie that you'd have to kind of pay attention to, because man, the beginning of this flips through everything. Like, he's in prison, he's out of prison, he's tortured, he becomes the Phantom, and it's like cut at one point, and it's like madness. So, outside of that, I think that there's, it's a good movie. Like, you can follow it fine, but there are points of it you're just like, okay, maybe I got to pause here, or maybe I got to slow down because I just missed something.
And when Paul Williams pulls off his Daft Punk helmet and reveals he's the incredible melting man underneath there, it was.
You mean William Finley?
No.
Oh! When you see the
like
grotesque
the underneath there, yeah, it's like
Clayface.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of what was that? The Tales of Terror, Vincent Price, when he melts at the end of the one segment.
Yes. That's funny. That's right.
Yeah, no, that was. I kind of like that, and it was neat to see the two, William Finley and Paul Williams battling it out, and they're just two like grotesque monsters battling it.
Right.
Kind of. I don't know. It just gave me that like kaiju kind of thing.
Well, and they're kind of winding down because the spell had been lifted, and now they can die, and they were already
now they can get hurt.
Now they were on their way to die anyway because they'd tried to kill themselves earlier.
And then they end up killing each other, which
So I guess what it is like the plot in this one is very complicated for a rock opera,
right?
And perhaps that maybe lends it to like either you have to love it the way you love Rocky Horror and watch it all the time, and finally get it on the 6th or 7th viewing, because some of the details kind of stuck, and some of them kind of bounced right off because I feel like I don't remember all of it, and I feel like I just watched it the other day.
I think that brings up a good point about the rock opera. It needs to be a repeat viewing kind of thing. It's almost like listening to an album. It's like you need to hear the songs over and over again, or you can hear the soundtrack and still get the story if you listen to the music itself. But yeah, you're right. Rocky Horror, first time I saw Rocky Horror, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I kind of get it now. I've seen it 5 or 6 times now. I kind of get it now.
Science fiction.
Well, let's go on to Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
As your first time, what do you think of this movie is about?
Well, it really threw me for a loop at the end there. But I thought I was following it. They Susan Sarandon and the other guy Brad had.
Damn it, Janet.
Janet.
Barry Bostwick
had kind of like fallen into the Twilight Zone or something, and just like rounded to the corner, and oh no, there's the Addams Family mansion, and they're having to deal with this kind of gothic adjacent Universal classic monster inspired group of extremely horny theater students, and they are constantly having a lot of fun doing various song and dances when nobody's watching, and
right,
and then Tim Curry goes around seducing everyone when he thinks no one's watching except for the security cameras,
and that's the log line that we're going to use when we're describing this movie in our intro. I think you got it.
Let's write down the more concise version of that. But then it turns out they're aliens. I don't know. Lost me at the end
they were
there.
hinting at that from the beginning, though. They kind of said, what about these Earthlings? People. They made stupid little references like that.
I clocked that, but I feel like that was toward the end.
Probably last quarter, yeah.
Right before they introduced the Professor X or whatever he was, the Dr. Everett V. Scott.
Wasn't that odd, that character? Like, it kind of was totally out of place, that person.
Yeah.
And they were like an important piece of the story somehow.
Yeah.
This is why I think that movie kind of fizzles out by the end.
Right.
It's almost like they were writing it on the fly.
Well, the stumbling sort of face first into the Twilight Zone, Addams Family mansion. Oh no, how do we get down this road, and how do we miss that castle a few miles back?
There was a castle back there.
Yeah.
A castle, Brad?
Yeah. Huh? Yeah. It's all within the same sort of B-movie milieu, but it felt like we were in one B-movie, and then they decided to switch gears very abruptly, and Riff Raff, the Igor guy, just decided to drop the act that he was the supplicating servant, and rather he's the he's
alien
the
overlord,
alpha alien that is gonna zap him with the trident,
with the brand new hairdo, and also the person that was with him.
Oh yeah, she turns into Bride of Frankenstein there, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hip.
What an odd movie. But it kind of, I feel like this is, like I said before, this one opens up with some of those big hits, science fiction double features, like the very first one with the lips that are singing that kind of give you the breakdown of the movie or the story that you're about to see, even though it's a little bit off. And then Damn It, Janet, that's a really fun one too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you said that they kind of fell down into the Twilight Zone. But if you watch, again, the wedding that they're at the beginning, their friend's wedding, Tim Curry is the officiant.
Yeah, exactly.
And Riff Raff is there as well.
As like the American Gothic
yes,
like farmers
there like
or
the
whatever.
American Gothic, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I clocked that. It was just that presumably they were not in the Twilight Zone, or to their perspective, that they hadn't fallen into it yet. And then the very next scene they're sort of driving at night, and the road is inexplicably closed. How did that motorcycle come if the road was closed? Oh well, let's walk back to that castle, Yeah. and it sort of took on this very unreal feeling at that time, even though they probably were in the Twilight Zone, from page one, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they got too deep into the zone, though, until they actually entered the castle and they were doing the time warp with Riff Raff.
Yeah.
And then, and then Meatloaf shows up and things get real wild.
Maybe unlike Phantom of the Paradise, they get away with a lot of that stuff in this one, because the Tim Curry performance is just, it's legendary. It's sort of out of this world. No, not legend, but legendary. And, he really brings it to this next level that, even if they had sort of everything written the same way, but not performed at that level, the movie would just kind of lie there. And because of that, there's a sort of electric, spark that goes through the whole thing because of what he brought to it. And I think, unfortunately, Phantom of the Paradise didn't really have that same level of, just shock and awe of a performance.
Yeah, I agree.
Despite having some good songs and everything else. And then, also his introductory song, I think when they get there, the sort of werewolf bar mitzvah is like still going on, and people are hanging out and having a song. But then he bursts in and does his, transvestite, transsexual from the planet Transylvania, that whole thing. Yeah. And it's just like such an awesome song. And like,
awesome song, yeah. That one goes on in the car a lot, yeah.
Yeah. yeah.
Just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
Yeah, it was wild. And here's a funny aside. So that was the first time we meet him, and then, they, ride that elevator upstairs to the next piece of the lab where they're about to resurrect the Paul Bettany mummy guy who has
Rocky
a lot of
Horror.
muscles, Mr. Rocky himself. Mm-hmm. Part of the thing that helps revive him is, this crazy device that comes down from the sky. It's, very Dr. Frankenstein looking device, and, out of it, it's like these artificial, cow udders, and there's like, milking these different different colors into this vat. And when it's all done, the vat has these different layers, like
it's like the oil not mixing together.
Right. And it, it sort of, even stains the glass, and it's like there later. And it's in a rainbow, right? Mm-hmm. But apparently this movie predates the rainbow flag. As
no kidding.
A gay pride symbol. Like at that time, it was the sort of pink triangle that he has on his lab coat as a gay pride thing. It was pretty surprising to me. But I wonder, like, is that just a coincidence? Was that
right?
Something that. Helped inspire some of that, or was it just also something in the in the sort of zeitgeist there about the different colors of the rainbow there? Who knows?
Right.
But I thought that was
I always
wild.
thought that was something that had been around for forever, at least before the 70s.
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently it was like the late 70s, like 78 or 79 that became a thing. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So it'd be interesting to find someone who knows a lot more about it. But I kind of glommed that from the Wikipedia thing.
Right.
But how funny was Meatloaf interrupting their sort of like chase around the laboratory,
trying to find Rocky.
Yeah. And
and then they like mercy kill him in like off camera,
right.
Like he was like a dog.
Yeah.
Like, I had to. Frank-N-Furter comes out all bloody.
Yeah.
It's just like, what'd you do? Oh, I had to put him down. It was like a mercy killing. It's like, what the?
Yeah.
He just sang a really badass song though, and it's Meatloaf.
Yeah.
He'd do anything for love.
He would, and he came out like a bat out of hell on that motorcycle.
Exactly.
There.
But I won't do that.
Did he have a review of the shitty Beatles when he was?
They suck.
Also, not just a clever name.
Hey, Tiny, who's playing tonight?
Jolly Green Giants, Shitty Beatles.
The Shitty Beatles, are they any good?
They suck.
Then it's not just a clever name.
But how much did he kind of remind you of the sort of when he was one of the rejects of the Juicy Fruits?
Yeah, exactly.
In this one. Yeah.
Right, yeah, because he had that like cut off denim, or ripped denim thing. It looked very greaserish.
Yeah,
he even had his hair kind of greasered back.
Right. Well, and it was this, I guess, brackish area between the sort of whatever rock and roll and maybe more of a hard rock that came out in sort of the late 70s, and like there's still a little bit of a transition there from, it's like you go, doo-wop, and then, kind of the sort of British invasion sound, and then you finally get into the hard rock a little later on. And both these movies kind of, explored bridging that gap a little bit with that greaser thing.
So, I mean, like, what were they just looking at, like, kind of like a, like a tribute or a celebration of music as it went, through the years?
Yeah, or specifically, I guess, rock in both these cases, right? It's like, in both Phantom and Rocky Horror, the sort of earlier versions, or the pre-rock, kind of Buddy Holly style rock, on through to where it was in the sort of early to mid 70s there.
So, are we supposed to forgive Janet and Craig, right? Or Brad, sorry. Janet and Brad for both cheating on each other with Frank-N-Furter, minutes after he had been with the other one.
Right.
Because they're in this Twilight Zone? Is that why we're supposed to be okay with them as, or are we just supposed
maybe,
to be like,
or maybe there wasn't any...
This is a horny world that we're in, right?
Maybe there wasn't any free will. It was a very Dracula hypnotism thing, who knows?
Yeah, but they were fighting it right at first, but,
like,
but he would just jump in
bed
with them.
It was I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Kiss me. No, yes, no, yes, no, yes. Oh, your helmet is so big.
Lord helmet, what? You need it on the bridge, sir.
Knock next time, knock. Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. It's just like, it's the world that they're in, right? Or they're in a totally different world, and you find out at the end of the movie, you're not in a world. They're not in a castle. They're in a fucking spaceship.
Right.
Like that's kind of where I get the idea that they were just writing this as they were going. They were just like, yeah, great song. How do we end this? They're aliens. Go.
How about aliens? Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And then how do we get rid of them? We'll just send the whole castle up into the sky, like. And that's kind of
I think the lips will sing us off, something. We got a movie there.
I still get confused. Are Brad and Janet Frankensteins by the end of it, or like Frankenstein's
are they stuck in the
the
sort of Bubsy Berkeley pool thing? Yeah, because that was the last thing. Right? It was the there was the RKO stage, and then the
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was a little. I started to get lost in some of the plot there.
Because he turned them into statues at one point. They're unfrozen.
Right.
Again, I've seen this so many times I couldn't tell you, and I tried to watch it a couple times for this too, just to get really familiarized. And then I still lose my train of thought when I get to the end. I must just check out or something, because I'm like, I didn't follow that again. It can't be my fault 5 times in a row, right? Like,
maybe.
I'm actually pretty good at understanding movies sometimes.
Yeah, or maybe you need to like just fast forward past all the music and get to the talking bits.
Past this part. This. In fact, never play this again.
Yeah.
They didn't like me. They never liked me.
I was a little lost at the end there. I kind of figured maybe I have to watch it a few more times, but apparently not. Or maybe once you get past 6 and 7, then all of a sudden it starts to make sense.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe we're questioning something that doesn't even fucking matter.
Well, I would have to say, like, okay, so in the first maybe 15 minutes or so before they get into the castle, I was starting to question. I was like, geez, this is the movie that is this insane cult classic that people watch every weekend and they go crazy over. Because it's it's so ADD at one point. It's like, we got this wedding, we didn't have the Damn It Janet song, and then we cut to Blofeld, God knows where, and
it's a step to the left.
Yes, exactly. And And then he comes back to like just every once in a while with a star wipe, and and then he has quite a bit of in that one song, just the step to the left. But yeah, so I was like, man, what the fuck is going on? And then once we sort of get to the castle, step to the left was pretty engaging too. And then all of a sudden it's Tim Curry, and for a good hour there, it was pretty solid. And then I start getting lost again with some of the Dr. Scott and the Turning to Stone, and then the Plan 9 from outer space at the end there.
But again, you had to enjoy it, right? And it's like these are the kind of movies that if they're on TV, if they just show up out of nowhere, or if you're asked to go to some midnight showing, you wouldn't mind going to see this kind of thing, right? Because clearly it's a lot of fun. And like you said, the beginning of it's kind of ADD. And I'm sure that's the time that, people they go to the movies, they go to see this thing. They're going to get drinks this whole time until you get to the castle. And then everyone's in their seats or right around their seats, dancing and singing to every single song that's on the track list. And it's like...
Right, exactly.
I don't know. It's kind of set up as if you're supposed to go see it. It's not really like one of those at-home viewers. This is really like one of those, like, you got to go see Rocky Horror.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. This is definitely a movie that should never be played at home type of thing, and, should only be watched.
Yeah, with a crowd.
I'm glad I finally got to see Rocky Horror Picture Show. I so wish I could have gone to catch it at the Nuart, especially being, having to have been marked with the letter V on my forehead watching it. But unfortunately, my plans conspired against me, and I wasn't able to do it. But
we'll make that happen, though.
Yeah, perhaps we'll get down there one of these days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's anything that's going away anytime soon. I feel like this is this is the cultiest of cult classics.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like this is kind of putting the definition. If you look up cult classic, like this is the best example you could get of that, right? Probably a shitty box office or a shitty critical review right when it came out, and all of a sudden this thing just blew up later on. Just from repeat viewings and small screenings.
Right. And I wonder, it's like, it's exactly like second run theaters or whatever, and then like
Grindhouses.
Revival houses, Grindhouses, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's wild. The Nuart still plays it just every Saturday night. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
It's so awesome, yeah. Well, you have to love a not too distant future. Post-apocalyptic future where even after the apocalypse we have this very predatory for-profit healthcare system. Yay!
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
Can't
now you're
it
leasing
even
you're leasing your organs. That's disgusting, right?
Sign here. Also, didn't they have to sign in blood in the beginning?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, wasn't there a kind of a Faustian deal made? Yeah, same kind of thing. What'd you think of Repo?
Oof. So we were talking about movies that lived or died with the songs, and man, this is not the style for me. Anytime in musical theater or whatever, they did this in the Tim Burton version of Sweeney Todd too, where they like are talking and the dialogue becomes kind of part of the song, but it's kind of arrhythmic and it doesn't rhyme and it's kind of weird. And they do that a lot. And Paul Sorvino, unfortunately, was mostly given that to do. I don't know.
But when they gave him his operatic stuff, man, he belted it. Like, that was impressive.
At the end there, yeah, exactly, on stage or whatever. But there were plenty of scenes where he's in the car and things are going, and like, and it's sort of this amelodic thing. And I'm like, I get it. I mean, for musical theater nerds, like that's a style, that's a thing, but it is not my style. That was not landing on for me.
Maggots, vermin. You want the world for nothing. Commence your groveling. Rotty, your king is dying.
Was there any music in this that stuck with you or impressed you at all?
the grave robber one you had going there for a second there.
That was good.
That one was pretty good.
It was a good story song too. Kind of gave you more of the feel of the movie or the world that you're looking at.
You know what it was? Yeah, exactly. This one was really pushing forward the plot in the songs more so than the other ones. I mean, the other ones, the plot was coming through on some of the songs, but like in the other ones, it was we're taking a musical break here. And there's like a maybe 3% story coming through the music, but it's mostly just we're hanging out,
rocking.
With Repo, it was no. This is the story.
Pay attention.
Yeah,
pay attention.
Almost the entire time. There's like no dialogue that's not sung in a staggering voice that doesn't rhyme. Father, I don't want medicine.
Oh, Marnie, I am so sorry. I have failed you. Blah blah.
Yeah.
I kind of see what you mean. But you're right. It is a style, right? Like this is a certain type of musical theater that you do get. You get that kind of harmonizing, plain dialogue or plain speech.
Yeah. And it wasn't. It was just. I mean, if you can get into that, this is the movie for you. If you can't get into that, it's gonna be rough.
But you made it through the whole movie, though.
I made it through.
Good. I mean,
they strapped me down like Alex and were putting drops in my eyes to keep it open, but I made it through.
I guess it's not too surprising then that this movie on an $8.5 million budget made $188,000. Is that what you're?
I think you got those numbers transposed. Like on screen, man, it looked cheap. I can't believe they spent $8 million on this.
So I don't know if this is true or not, but Darren Lynn Bousman, the director of this, who directed Saw 2, I think, and Saw 3, or he's a few of those, and he did the latest one, the Stories of Saw. It was called Jigsaw or something, or I forgot what it was called. It was the one with Chris Rock.
They did a requel just called Saw?
I think so. Something like that, yeah. The Book of Saw. Book of Saw, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was with Chris Rock. And he directed that one as well. Anyway, he's a pretty good horror director.
Yeah.
And he came out with this movie, and it was like a really limited release. He did like a small thing in a few cities. I think Pasadena, Chicago, maybe in the middle America somewhere. He had a few in New York. And he just did a few small screenings of this to try to get it going, and never really picked up any steam. Like showed at Fantasia, and that was it. And one of the stories he told was that while he was shooting Saw 3, he said that because he had pretty much carte blanche to get whatever he wanted for that movie, he's like, I need a cemetery.
Because Saw 2 was a huge
that I'm shooting.
hit or whatever.
The first Saw, and then he came and did. I think he did too, and it did really well as well. And so he was brought on again, so he could be like, hey, I need this set built. Can you fund this? Sure. So I need a cemetery built. That cemetery was never in Saw. He used it for this movie, and he used the set that he had the production company
that's funny.
build. Yeah, so he used that money for this movie.
So this movie would have cost even more if he hadn't billed it to Saw 3 or whatever.
It would have been $9 million even.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'd have probably made less. Yeah, it's a shame because there's some cool people in this movie. I mean, him being the director, I thought. But, Anthony Head, obviously Paul Sorvino, and then Sarah Brightman, who is, the OG Christine in Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera, I believe.
Yeah.
For the longest run.
She was the Robo Eyes one. Right, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Meg, the dead Meg or something. Or
yeah, blind Meg.
Blind Meg, yeah, exactly. I thought her stuff was great in the movie. I thought she did fantastic, but she also did a little bit of this when she would talk to people.
Well,
Hi, Shiloh.
That's the thing is I think everyone had to do that like they weren't allowed to have sort of normal dialogue. They had to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Alexa Vega, it was killing me the entire. I was like, who the hell is this? And it was like, okay, she was in Spy Kids or whatever, the first one.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sure she was in more of them, but that was the only one I saw.
But it was real, Dad.
I'm the doctor, and I'm your father.
Didn't imagine this.
Please, Shiloh, drop it.
Couldn't have fathomed this.
Please, Shiloh, stop.
Dad, I can smell the death.
You could have died. You scare me to death.
It had this look like if you had ever been to like a film festival or seen a student film in the sort of late 2000s, this gauzy look, because you couldn't get the difference from the background on a green screen and then the foreground separated super cleanly. A lot of low budget movies would then put this like gauze on it, and it sort of like really helps that green screen look. But the whole movie kind of has this, you feel like you get cataracts.
Yeah. It reminds me of those plugins, those old Red Giant plugins. There was like you could just put on one of those LUTs or whatever it was, and it would just kind of give you this blown out, or overly saturated look too. And
God, right. It was like they downloaded off of LimeWire like the LUT pack for Minority Report, and they're like, you know what, that's what we're going for, and it
put it on.
Yeah, it's like
just put it over the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, aesthetically, it was really hard to look at.
I agree. Yeah,
and some of those N64 graphics of the city or whatever, kind of looked like it was giving me these like screensaver vibes.
Yeah.
What was kind of cool was that, with the comic book thing in the beginning and the sort of motion graphics in the comic book, it felt like they were trying to marry those two styles, having the to go from live action novel to these kind of storyboarded motion graphic comic books, and then having this kind of janky computer graphics in between, and it all felt like it was a part of it, but like I don't know, aesthetically it was falling flat for me, and it was pretty rough, but it was, if you haven't seen it and don't plan to, based on my my negativity on it, like it had this like look and feel like a local theater troupe put it on the Matrix or something. It was like, sort of lots of leather and the long coats and things.
Yeah.
The Paul Sorvino's children were really, chewing the scenery.
It's Bill Moseley, or one of them's Bill Moseley, I should say. He's from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Was he the one with the face clipped on?
No, that's Ogre, or he's the guy from Skinny Puppy.
Well, then
Kevin Graham Ogilvy.
Okay, so the Bill Moseley guy, then like he was the one really chewing the scenery for me. I mean, like he was out chewing Paris Hilton for my money. It was wild.
Well, because I don't think she came to act or do anything in this movie. I think she came to show up and did her lines. I don't think she really kind of.
But this
I don't think she has the chops, right?
They were putting her in horror movies this time, right? She was in House of Wax and she was in something else.
Yeah, I think she was trying to do the acting thing at this point. Yeah, Scream Queen thing specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Bill Moseley's from like Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. He's great. But yeah, this is not his forte by any means.
Where the fuck is Dad, brothers?
He left me in charge, sister.
My brother and sister should
Potty, shut the fuck up.
I don't know, man. I was aware of this movie, and I remember the poster, and I remember seeing it at the time, or sorry, seeing the poster, not seeing the movie, but like, I didn't realize that it was doing a roadshow thing that didn't work out, and it kind of just came and went. Because I mean, I was definitely aware of it. It was wild. I mean, I knew it wasn't my cup of tea, going into it, but like,
it was a small local theater production that got real popular.
Oh.
Darren Boozman met with the guys that put this thing on, and he made a short film with Shawnee Smith, who's in the Saw films, and she was in like old 80s movies back in the day. Mm-hmm. And she played I think she played either the Shiloh character or she played Meg's character, and she was doing a few of the songs, so that's how he got the funding for it. But yeah, the movie never really took off. I mean, it obviously got panned by critics. It's not very good. But what's interesting is that at this time this movie came out, it was 2007.
Yeah, I thought it was 2008, but it could be like an indie release, so maybe.
Yeah, so 2008. But then in 2010, a movie called Repo Men comes out with Jude Law and Forrest Whitaker, about two guys that are repo people that go and repossess people's organs
it wasn't a remake of the
car movie?
Emilio Estevez Repo Man?
No, Repo Man.
It was a ripoff of this movie.
In 2025, advancements in medical technology have perfected biomechanical organs, and this corporation known as the Union goes and repossesses them.
Wow.
It's like the same exact story. When I heard that, I was like, wait a second. Did anyone not see this thing come out before? This Repo, the genetic opera, and then all of a sudden, maybe they're like, we need to give this a shot with Liev Schreiber, Jude Law, and Forrest Whitaker and see if it works, with some real actors.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
Isn't that wild?
Maybe because, it didn't do well. They're like, yeah, I'm sure we can rip it off. No big deal.
They're probably like, oh, never even heard of it.
Yeah, that's wild.
But the RZA's in this movie, like this. This is the movie I wanted to see.
Repo Men.
Repo Men. Yeah.
There we go. I guess in 2025, when we're doing our the future is 2025 films, we could do that one.
Coming up soon, really.
Just around the corner.
Do we have any 2023 movies we could put on that on the list?
I was surprised we found so many 2022s.
Let me just reassure you that our credit department will find a plan that fits your lifestyle.
But what they don't tell you is if you can't pay the bills, some union man will break into your house and reclaim our property.
I can pay.
Sorry, that's not my department.
I did have to bring up, since you said that, some of the talking and musical theater part of this wasn't your bag. I remember when this movie first came out, I was like, oh, this is, pretty cool.
Did you see it on the roadshow, or did you see it on its
No, I just rented it when it was released on digital or DVD at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember I told my friend Grant, he's like, oh, what do you watch these days? And I named this one for him. And I'm like, oh, it was interesting, this Repo the genetic thing. He's like, oh, okay, cool. He texted me later, or he called me the next day or so, and he's like, yeah, I watched that movie you suggested. I made it for about 5 minutes, and he's like, I turned it off. He's like, not my thing. And I was kind of hoping that, I was glad you made it through the movie, but I kind of felt like this is the same situation that you went through.
It was rough, man. I have to say, at one point, I paused to refresh my drink and looked down, and there was only an hour and 24 minutes to go.
To be totally honest with you, I did the same exact thing. I swear, I was watching, I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. We must be getting close. There was still over an hour left.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, we're not even skimming the surface here.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I think, mention that on Phantom of the Paradise. It's like some of the aesthetic choices on that one I wasn't super into on Phantom. But because of the music and everything, it was sort of propelling me through it. And this one, I just wasn't getting into the music, which has made it that much harder to sit through the aesthetics that weren't landing for me.
It makes the movie, right? It makes the rock opera. You don't have things that come out of Rocky Horror Picture Show and they, all of a sudden that movie's played every day for the last 50 years or 40 years or whatever it is, and you're just like, wait a second, what made that so good, and why isn't Repo being played? But I guess it is.
Tim Curry wasn't singing while he was swallowing Brad's dick. It was he could just deliver his lines.
I thought that was so funny.
That's so good.
There's no care in the world. Frank-N-Furter just seduces everybody. It's just this horny aliens here on Earth just to fuck people.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, Repo doesn't have that kind of personality, right? It's missing that whole staying power that these other movies have.
It's missing the sense of sort of fun and adventure that the other two had.
Yeah,
and
exactly. There's no fun in this movie.
I think some of those things were supposed to be kind of fun, of just him breaking through the wall and seeing the huge pile of bodies, and there's the guy talking about the drugs and that song, which was okay.
Hydrate. Yeah.
But then they sort of went sort of full opera and wanted you to feel the tragedy of these stories that you weren't super invested in.
Meg losing her eyes and all that was very, very operatic.
It was very operatic. It was very gross. But yeah, it didn't have the punch because I was already kind of really tuned out. I mean, and frankly, I would have been more like your buddy and probably turned it off if
No, it's a good thing we have to do this show, man, because you wouldn't have gotten through that movie.
Yeah.
That has been a really short conversation.
Yeah.
Zydrate comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial? A little glass vial.
And the little glass vial goes into the gun like a battery.
Again, it was like one of those things where, you see this movie and you see the cast and you're like, holy shit. Like Anthony Head, he was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and now he's on Ted Lasso. He's like the villainous football club owner.
Oh, that's him. He's like the ex-husband or whatever of
exactly
of the woman who runs the team.
The owner.
Okay, right. Okay.
So he's like a really great actor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He too. I was like, God, what the hell I know him from? And I kind of perused this thing. I was like, yeah, Buffy. That wasn't me. I didn't watch that. And I was like, it said, he did a bunch of Nescafe commercials. I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't know what I know him from.
You don't remember him from the Nescafe commercials where he's drinking coffee? That one.
Yeah.
You saved my life the other night.
The dinner party?
The coffee. Very successful.
How can you ever thank me?
I'll try and think of something.
Well, cool. I think we did it.
We did it. Brian, the show is over. We're still talking. What do we have next week? Can you tell the folks at home?
Should we rate our movies 1 through 3? I can tell your favorite was not Repo. It is 3.
Yeah. Man, I did like a lot about Phantom of the Paradise, but I'd probably have to give it to Rocky Horror for the number 1 slot, Phantom of Paradise. And then, about a light year back that way would be Repo Man.
In 5th place out of 3 is Repo. Yeah, Rocky Horror definitely, I think, kind of... It has built and it has maintained the template for what the rock opera should be, and I don't think it hasn't been overtaken yet.
Yeah.
Nothing else has even come close.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard at this point, too, because there's, like, such a high bar now. And again, like, just the Tim Curry thing, it's like, even if nothing else in the movie worked, like, you'd still be sort of hypnotized by that.
Yep. And it's unfortunate that not all these movies had that person in the movie, Tim Curry. But one more thing, and I had no idea about this until I started looking things up. There is a sequel or a remake to Rocky Horror Picture Show that came out in 2016.
Okay, 2016. Oh.
And Laverne Cox plays Frank-N-Furter.
Oh, huh. And does she blow it away the way that Tim Curry does?
I don't know. We'd have to see it. I have not seen it, but it might be interesting.
It's funny. When I was looking up Jessica Harper, I was like, God, what the fuck do I know her from?
Outside of Suspiria?
It wasn't clicking with me that was her. And then I was like, okay, got it. But she was in, like, the direct sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show, which was called Shock Treatment, I think. That was in the 80s. But then I guess they did a remake or a third film with Laverne Cox.
I think it's more of a remake of Rocky Horror.
Or
the
a
original.
requel? Oh, boy.
Shock Treatment is, like, she plays the Janet character. Jessica Harper takes over Susan Sarandon's role.
In Shock Treatment. Oh, right on.
In Shock Treatment, yeah. Which I have never even heard of this until you brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, I only stumbled across it because I was trying to figure out what I knew her from, and it wasn't Shock Treatment.
Never even heard of that. Wow, this show, man.
Hello, I'm Dr. Cosmo McKinley. I'd like to tell you about a new film from the gang that gave you the Rocky Horror Show. Shock Treatment.
All right, this was a lot of fun. Next time we'll be talking even more fun stuff with home invasion films.
Yeah.
That sounds nice and comforting. Oh. We're going to be talking Wait Until Dark from 1967, Straw Dogs from 1971, and Hard Candy from 2005. We have a guest on for that one, is that right?
Yeah, this is, I think, guest programmed as well. I mean, we're kicking around a lot about a bunch of different ideas, and this one came together. And I guess we'll find out how unsafe being at home will be. And what's kind of nice about this one is I think it has various types of housing, whether you live in the suburbs, in the city, or in the country. Nothing is safe.
No one's safe. Yeah.
No one's safe.
Just a sweet transvestite transsexual Transylvania.
All right, thanks so much for listening. Please make sure to subscribe and follow us on all the podcasts and social platforms at the Grindhouse Institute. And if you really want to give us a boost, check us out on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps us to get noticed. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back next time.
Ciao.
If you want to see Swan, you get on the phone and you call and make an appointment like everybody else.
Well, I did that and they threw me out.
Well, then they don't want to see you.
But I wrote the music.
Look, now, why don't you just get out of here?